G'day, it's Rob here again. Well, today I'm going to do something a bit different. I'm going to review a mini lathe, a 7x12 Sumore brand. Sumore make a lot of lathes and machinery. They're a major manufacturing group in China. And currently they're selling the 7x12 as Sumore brand in Australia and Canada. You can get it off eBay and Amazon. And also they have a local distribution warehouse set up in Canada and Australia as well. So it means that when you buy one, it's quick turnaround time. So that's a good thing. They tell me that they will soon be selling their little 7x12 in the USA and Germany as well. So that'll be something to watch out for. The main reason I'm reviewing it is to check out the quality, because Sumore are big on quality and they want that confirmed. So that's what this will be all about. Plus I'll try it out, give it a run, and yeah, it should be interesting. It's an interesting little lathe. Let's get on with it. So here's the crate it came in. It's a standard plywood and metal frame box with a wooden base. I presume the lathe is bolted to. That's the usual standard practice. And it was delivered by TNT. And it was good. They had a tailgate loader truck, so it was easy to get off the truck. They just lowered it down on the tailgate loader and wheeled it in for me and wheeled it right up to the workshop. Now, this is a gross weight of 46 kg, net weight of the lathe is 40 kgs. So it's a fair lump to move around, but I managed it on my own okay. I put it on my little trolley just to move it around the workshop. And to lift the lathe is probably a two-person job, but I'm on my own, so I'll see how I go. And the next thing is open up the box. So that's what we'll do, just make sure everything's intact. And yeah, let's get on with it. First impressions of this are really good. It really looks nicely made. Beautiful lustrous blue paint job. Now I don't see any machining marks anywhere. The ways look really finely finished. Ground, of course. It's heavily coated with cosmoline, so it's hard to tell exactly, but yeah, it looks extremely well made. Really nice. Better than what I've seen to date, that's for sure. Controls are on the front, which is the more upmarket version, rather than on the top. And it's got a cam block tailstock, which I wasn't expecting, so that's more upmarket. It really looks good, yeah. It looks impressive for sure. Another nice feature is that the lathe has a thread chaser on the lead screw. It's an indicator to the right hand side of the carriage, and it helps you out when you do single point thread cutting on the lathe. That's a nice touch. One thing that often stands out with cheap lathes is that the quality of the chip guards, rear chip shield particularly, can be pretty bad. Quite often they're rough as anything, but this is beautifully made. I love the way they've done the spot welding. It's a nice, neat job. And yeah, as soon as I saw it, I thought, that's a good sign. That's definitely a good sign. Another nice touch is that the ways are hardened, and they've even got the point of putting a stop at the end of the ways so the tailstock can't come off Really good.
Here's a look at the back of it, and you can see the two levers at the back of the headstock for the speed change from high to low, and also for the reverse tumbler. And as I pointed out, it's a 3-position reverse tumbler. But once again, the finish looks first class, and the quality of the componentry looks really good. In addition to the user instruction manual, you'll also get a whole bunch of stuff, and yeah, interesting. You get a beautiful little work light, a magnetic based work light, LED type, that you can use on the lathe anywhere you want to. It's got a flexible gooseneck. It runs on a battery, so there's no wiring. So yeah, I think it's all metal too. It looks good. Should be pretty bright with all those LEDs. You get a set of basic carbide chip tool bits, and they'll get you going. I might give them a go, see how they work, see if they're any good. You get, what's in this? Will be a dead centre. Yeah, it's a dead centre for the tailstock. It's a Morse 2. Looks beautifully made, very nice. So you can use that for turning long stuff. Once again, that'll get you going. If you want to go up market, you can buy yourself a live centre. You get a nice spanner, good quality. Yeah, sometimes the tooling you get with these things is pretty poor, but that looks good. And they'll be for the common sizes, chuck key, back of the chuck bolts and things like that. Get a whole bunch of Allen keys so you can work on the thing. You get 3 additional chuck jaws for a scroll chuck. They'll be external jaws so you can hold big diameter stuff, and also pipes and things like that. Chuck key, oil bottle so you can oil the ways and the gears and whatever you have to. A few nuts and bolts, a few screws. 2 items here that I would say are probably the pivot points for the plastic chuck cover, which is in that bag there, we'll deal with in a minute. And a whole bunch of handles, 4 handles. One will be for the cross slide hand wheel, one will be for the tailstock quill lock, one will be for the pull down on the tool post. And this plastic one will be for the carriage hand wheel. In addition, you also get a bag here with a whole bunch of change gears in it. And you get the cover for the chuck, a clear plastic cover which also shuts down the lathe if you lift it, so it's a safety feature. In the bag you also get a whole heap of change gears and change wheels. It's interesting, they're exactly the same dimension, width and module as for my big 10-inch lathe, and the only difference being the centre's slightly different. These are only a single spline centre. The bigger lathe, the 4 spline, but this is the same spline centre and everything, apart from probably the tooth counts, as the 9x20s, you know, the old 9x20s that I've sold a zillion of. The 9x20 gears and my bigger lathe are metal, whereas these are nylon or plastic. But for this size lathe, these should be perfectly adequate if you treat the thing with respect and yeah, look after it. Now these 4 rubber pads here, these are for the bottom of the lathe. If you want to just have the lathe freestanding and portable, you can put these rubber feet on it, or you can bolt it to the workbench permanently if you want to. It's your choice. So yeah, they give you these and they'll be great. I think I'll use these because for starters, I just think I'll use the lathe, keep it portable, and that way I can move around the shop as I want to, and yeah, we'll probably go that way. Okay, moving on. The LED light takes 3 AAA batteries. Got lots of LEDs, so it should be good and bright. It's got a magnetic base. Let's put it together and try it out. So, how bright is this little light? Wow, that's pretty bright. And they've got the gooseneck, you can move it around.
And it's magnetic as well, so you can really move it around. Pretty good, eh? That's what you call a good light. These two little gadgets here are actually other gear drives for the thread chaser. Thread chaser comes with a 16-tooth gear, and these are 14 and 15. They're not marked, so you have to count the teeth, and that enables you to do different pitches. There's a pitch table on the end of the lathe, and there's also a thread table. Looking at the change gear table for the different pitches of thread, it only mentions metric, so I'm presuming that the gears that are supplied are only meant for metric threads. Here's a look at the driving gear ends for the change gears. And you can see you've got 20mm spindle, you've got preload adjuster on the spindle, you've got metal gears in your three critical places. They're the hardest working of the whole lot. Obviously small gears work a lot harder than big gears. And of course, the spindle, that's usually metal. Here's your reverse tumbler lever, the speed change lever. Once again, all steel, no die cast. I like that, that's good. Even the banjo, well, the slotted arrangement here is steel. So they've done a good job on it. It looks well made. I can't see any obvious faults. It looks good. The 80mm scroll chuck is a Zhonghuan. It's not a brand I'm familiar with, but it looks very well made. It's very solid, and all of the pinion gears are nice and tight on it. You know, the cheap ones, they slop around and move in and out, but this one's really solid. The jaws are nice and tight. The whole thing seems to be pretty good. We'll just have to see how accurate it is. Because with these chucks you can move them in any of three positions, so I'll check all three and pick out the best position, and we'll go with that. Once you've got your best position, then you just centre punch the back plate, the driving plate and the chuck, and that way you just got those marks, they'll line up, and then when you're refitting it, you know exactly where to go. The ways and the lead screw are very finely finished. There's no burrs on the lead screw at all. It's really nice. I've oiled it, cleaned it and oiled it, and I haven't oiled the ways yet. I just wanted to give you a good look at them, but they're very nicely finished, just very finely ground, as you'd expect, and it's a single prismatic type, and the carriage uses the same prism as the tailstock, and there's no tight spots. It just moves up and down nicely. Yeah, everything's good. The tailstock also slides nicely without any binding or tight spots. That's how you want it. On the cheap ones they can be rough underneath and you can have problems, but no, this is perfect, really good. The carriage on these is quite thick, you know, pretty good really. It's got a set of way wipers on there, so that's handy, nice little touch. The width of the dovetails on the cross slide and the top slide are both pretty good for this size lathe, and the four-way tool post holder is good beefy one. All of the levers on the tool post, tailstock, cam lock, half nuts, they're all steel, so no die cast rubbish that can break, so that's good. I really like that. That's good. Yep, definitely the way to go. If you're wondering how to change the angle of your top slide, wind it back to where it is now, you can get to two quite large Allen-headed bolts, and then you can just loosen them off and then you can pivot it and get the angle you want, lock it down, wind back the top slide, you're good to go. The finish on the dovetail is actually pretty good. It's, yeah, very good. So now we'll switch it on. Now first off, make sure you've got the cover down, because it won't switch on, won't do anything with the cover back. That's a dead cutout. This is a magnetic cutout switch as well, so if the power goes off, it kills the machine off. You have to reset the buttons to start it. It's a good feature. I mean, they pretty much all have that. Power on, the light comes on, we know it's ready to go. The tachometer lights up. I'm in low gear, low speed. It's pretty nice and smooth, no vibration. 1,012 RPM it spins up to. But as I said, this is low gear. Low gear is probably your most useful gear, because it's not very often you're going to be spinning anything over 1,000 RPM. Most of the time you'll be no more than 800. So you get your maximum torque, maximum power to the chuck in your bottom gear. So that's the gear I'd be using. The half nuts engage really easily. It's a very short throw, and yeah, we'll fire it up. And of course you can drive the carriage either way. The lead screw is reversible, and there's a lever up the back that does that, which is fantastic. I mean, you know, for this size lathe and price to have all these features, they're really good. So yeah, great. The cross slide, it's got a lot of travel, comes right back, way back. And it feels smooth, there's no tightening up, which would be an indication of dovetail divergence, which does happen on lathes. You know, I've heard of it, and some brands that you wouldn't think it would happen to too. So, yeah, that's nice and uniform. I haven't adjusted these. I'm just using it as it's been delivered, and it's not too bad. And then they need oiling as well. They've got a bit of oil, but. And you can go back as far as the chip shield with it. That's your limiting factor. So if the chip shield wasn't at the back, you could probably go back further. But I mean, you're back to centre line anyway by this time, so that's all you need to do. You don't want to go back any further. There's no point. And you've got 3 adjusters on your top slide, which is good. Your scales are fixed. You can't rotate them. They're not on a clutch. So that's pretty basic, but it will do the job. And your tailstock quill, nice and smooth as well. And it's got a scale on it that you can read, similar to what they all are. Morse 2, it's not a stick-on scale, it's actually etched in the scale. That's a lot better than a lot of them. Some of them have just a scale that's just sort of stuck on there, and they always move around, so that's good. Yeah, and of course you've got your lock. And yeah, everything you want, and of course your cam lock. So it's very, very well featured, and yeah. So now it's time to take some readings and see how accurate this little lathe is. First I'll check it right at the mouth of the chuck. Wow. That is some sort of accuracy. That is unbelievable. Under 0.02. Whew. That is incredible. Wow. Okay, I've moved the probe out. See if there's any problem with the jaws. Now these jaws haven't been ground. I looked at them closely and wow, look at that. That is unbelievable. That is absolutely amazing. Hell. Same thing, you're under 0.02. Far out. If you can get 0.03 out of any chuck, you're doing pretty good. A lot of chucks are 0.04, and this is under 0.02. That is just first class. Absolutely first class. I haven't tried this chuck in any other bolt hole positions, but I mean that's as good as I could ever hope for. So I'm just going to mark it here and leave it. That is as good as you could hope for. So yeah, I'll put a couple of center punch marks on it, and then I'll take the chuck off, and then I'll measure the Morse taper in the spindle. See how accurate that is. The chuck driving plate is interesting in that it's drilled for a 4-bolt pull up or a 3-bolt pull up. So that's good. If you want to put a 4-jaw chuck on it, quite often they have 4 bolts. Depends, but you've got both options there, so that's really good. Okay, I've got the test indicator on the very outside of the taper, so now I'll try and turn it without getting my hand in the way. Wow. Point 0.01. Yep, 0.01. Just a tad under 0.01. Yeah, 0.0075 or something like that. It's super low. Okay, now I'll move the test indicator in, and we'll check the Morse further in. It's no good just measuring it on the outside. You have to make sure it's uniform. Now we'll try that. Get my hand out of the way. Exactly the same, a bit under 0.01. Well, that's another fantastic result. So, yep, this looks great, really, really good. Okay, I've given it the infamous razor blade test, and I've had to do it with a quill fully extended, so it's your worst position as far as accuracy, and it's come in pretty much perfect, so that's great too. Yes, this is a classic old test that's years old. So once again, yep, vertical alignment looks good, and so does the horizontal, otherwise it will twist the blade either way. So it looks really good, yeah. The last test is linearity between the chuck and the tailstock when it's in the end position. My test bar is not absolutely perfect. It's slightly out, but anyway, we'll give it a shot. There we go. And this is just a test bar I made up years ago. It'll get you within 0.01 anyway, which is what it's doing. So you can see that everything's good. Once again, 0.01, pretty bloody impressive. Most of these lathes are 0.02, you know, that's what they recommend. That's what they state as the maximum allowable runout. And it's certainly within that, for sure. Time to try it out now with some of the tooling they've provided. Gone for the positive rake, 8mm tool. And that'll be best for steel, aluminium, and we'll see how it performs. This is some mild steel. Give it a go. Change the angle a bit. You can see straight away how changing the angle of attack improves the finish. For brass, bronze, you have it pretty much parallel, but for harder stuff like steel, you have it with a pointy, more of an angle. And lastly, some aluminium. Bit of lube, stop galling. 600 RPM. How's that for a finish, guys? That looks pretty damn good to me. So yeah, this little baby's really got the goods. It can do anything you want within its range, you know. It's a small lathe, but it does good work. Very nice. I also tried it afterwards with some bronze, and the finish came up beautiful, as you'd expect. No problem whatsoever. So yeah, excellent. Well, that's it, folks. We've reached the end of the video, and the little lathe has performed way beyond my expectations. It's just incredible. Accuracy is first class. Finish on fit and finish on it is really good, and yeah, with sharp tooling, it can handle 3 types of metal there, no problem whatsoever. 8mm tooling. That was just one of the cutters. The features are fantastic. I mean, you've got what you really do want with a small lathe. Reversible lead screw is a great feature. Cam-block tailstock, nice to have. Variable speed. Now, the variable speed is the difference between Canada and Australia. Canada gets a choice of brushed motor or brushless. Australia only gets brushed at the moment. Now, Canada's 110 volt, we're 240 volt, so maybe that's got something to do with it, I don't know. But anyway, the Canadians get an extra choice. So, well, they get a choice. Overall, though, I don't think it would make much difference what what motor you use or what voltage you're on, because the package as such is just a really good package. And yeah, I couldn't fault it. I seriously couldn't fault it. It's amazing. All right, well that's it from me. I'll put the links to the eBay and Amazon pages, the sites where you can buy this little unit, and I'll also put a link to the Shanghai webpage for the Sumore factory in China, which shows all the stuff they make, and it goes from this size, I think this is probably the smallest, up to just monster stuff. You know, it's really interesting. So that's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, I'd definitely give this a 10 out of 10 without a shadow of a doubt. It's excellent. That's it. See you next time. Cheers.